Hi there. I'm Alan Davidson from NTIA, from the National Telecommunications and Information Administration at the Commerce Department. How wonderful to be here with all of you. Thank you to the Partnership on AI, who's been a great partner and resource in so much of the work that we've been doing, and really appreciate you bringing us all together here. I've also, I should say, had the pleasure of working with Amba for kind of like 8 years now, and if there's one thing I've learned is she's a very tough act to follow. So, but I'm really glad I got to hear what you had to say, so thank you. Thank you for what you're doing. At NTIA, tech policy is what we do, and our focus is making sure that important technologies from broadband to spectrum to emerging technologies like AI are developed in service of people and in service of human progress. And nowhere does that feel more important today than in the explosive growth of artificial intelligence systems. And while I'm with you here today, I hope to just very quickly talk about several areas of work that we have underway, also the trajectory of how we got here in our work to try and create safer, more responsible AI. And I'll just start by saying this has been a big priority for the administration. The administration has said, in fact, Vice President Harris herself has said that technology with global impact deserves global action. And that is why convenings like this, bringing together the full multi-stakeholder community, are so vital to the future of AI and to our work together. Just starting point is that, humanity has the power to create technologies that can improve our lives, that can connect the globe, that can take on the big challenges that confront us as a planet. But it also has the power to build tools to monitor our population, to divide our societies, to weaken the vulnerable. The choices about what kinds of technologies we build, the choices to build technologies for good or evil, to unite or divide us, in service of freedom or of control, those choices are ours. And some of the most important choices that we have to make today in technology are how we are going to move forward with artificial intelligence. Many of you know this, the administration's approach to AI starts with the belief that responsible AI innovation can and will bring enormous benefits to people. We firmly believe that, and we're seeing that transformation begin to happen in every corner of our economy. But we will only realize the promise of AI if we also address the serious risks it raises and risks that it raises today, not just speculative risks. Those risks include things that we've already been talking about today: safety, security, privacy, discrimination, fairness, bias, risks from disinformation, impacts on our labor market. We also risk exacerbating the inequities of our world if we don't ensure that these advances are available to everyone, everywhere. The entire US government, along with many other governments around the world, has moved with great urgency, I should say, to seize the tremendous promise and manage the considerable risks posed by AI. A year ago, President Biden, Vice President Harris secured voluntary commitments from the leading AI companies to make sure that their systems are safe before releasing them to the public. These commitments help the administration, and I think the world, get ahead of the frontier AI models by addressing the most significant near-term risks. And I'm been pleased to see some of that work continue in an international context. Developer commitments were just the first step. We published, of course, an extensive AI executive order issued last fall, which brings the full capabilities of the US government to bear in promoting innovation and trust in AI and using all of the tools at our disposal. It laid out a broad program of work, from research to tooling to policy, to address the risks of AI and promote greater trust. And we're well on our way to delivering on that work. My colleagues within the Commerce Department have extensive work streams on safety, security, privacy, innovation, intellectual property. NIST, our colleagues at NIST, I think you heard from Mark earlier today, are standing up an AI Safety Institute to do the technical work required to address the full spectrum of AI risks. And among these many activities, I'd like to highlight 3 big policy issues that we think that we're working on and that we think would benefit from your attention and your help: AI openness, AI accountability, and international harmonization. Let me start with a big area of work for us right now, which is on the openness of AI systems. NTIA published a report last summer on open model weights in foundation models. The executive order that I mentioned had tasked us with making policy recommendations about making the model weights widely available for the most advanced AI models. And you can understand why, right? The wide availability of model weights, it can be incredibly important, can accelerate research, it can democratize access to AI tools. At the same time, there is a concern and a narrative, as Amba noted, that the wide availability of model weights might increase the potential risks of misuse and of harm. Our report, as published, makes several key observations. The first is that it's important to really be looking at the marginal risks of open systems, right? Closed systems present risks and benefits as well. So we really need to be thinking about the delta between closed systems and open systems. We also talked about the fact that there's a range of openness. It's not just about model weights, right? It's about could be access to code, access to training data. All of those things are important. We catalog in our report the substantial benefits that come from open access to model weights, and I meant including their importance for research, the benefits for security, improving safety, improving competition so that it's not just a few companies that control the most important models. We also catalog concerns about potential risks from misuse and harm, especially when controls that may be available in closed models are less available. And our conclusion is basically that it's not possible today to quantify the risks, the marginal risks and benefits of these open AI systems. So this needs to be an area of active research and investigation. We concluded that we need to recognize the importance of open systems, and we support making the key components of these powerful systems available, but also calling for an active role for government in monitoring risk going forward. And I'll just say, as we think more broadly about openness, history has shown us that closed systems can undermine experimentation and prevent wide access to advances. I think as we think about the international context, being able to make sure that we have access to powerful tools, openness is going to play a very big role. And so I commend this to you. This is a big area of work for us and one where we could use some further conversation and exploration. I'll just, since it's a lightning talk, go through really quickly. I wanted to mention two other areas of work. One has been around accountability. We published a report, an AI accountability policy report in the spring. One of our key findings is that the government ought to require independent audits for the highest risk AI systems, those that directly impact physical safety or health, for example. And while audit and assessment is not the only part of the puzzle, as noted, it's an important piece of work that we need to be building out our audit and assessment ecosystem, just as we have in the auditing of financial systems. I'll just say very quickly, none of this works domestically in a vacuum. We cannot address the big issues around AI alone here in the United States, and we recognize that. We need to operate internationally. We need global harmonization of our work. There's a huge body of work going on. Many of you are very aware of it. We've been very actively engaged in the G7 process, very much looking forward to next month's meeting in Italy, furthering the work that was done on the Hiroshima Code of Conduct. We'll be doing a lot of work here in the coming days at the Summit for the Future and watching the Global Digital Compact and how it can be a useful tool in harmonization of this work. Very excited for the AI Action Summit that's coming in Paris in February, and I'm hopeful that we can bring some of this conversation, particularly about openness, to that. And I'll just say that it's essential as this work continues that it remains consistent with our broader, longstanding values and goals online. That includes our commitment to an open, free, global, interoperable, reliable, and secure internet. It includes our commitment to the multi-stakeholder model. And I'll just say in conclusion, safe and responsible AI it's an ambitious effort. Given the role that AI plays in all of our lives and will play, this is about a lot more than just technology policy. It's about creating economic opportunity and new jobs. It's about improving equity in our society. It's about promoting human rights and fundamental freedoms around the world. It's about tackling the big challenges that face our planet. The road ahead to do all of this work, as we've been hearing all morning, is daunting. But I think if there's one thing that gives me some confidence, it's conversations like this one. I really do believe we are much further along in the global conversation about consequences and about regulation and about addressing tough things about technology than we've been in any of the recent innovation cycles that we've seen online, whether it was cloud computing or social media. We were behind there. I think we are still in the early days of this conversation, and it's incredibly encouraging to see all of you so deeply engaged in that conversation as we're shaping this technology. So I do believe the choice is ours. The decisions that we make now are going to shape what kinds of technology we build. And the decisions we make can lead us, I really believe, to a world where technology works in service of a more open, free, equitable, and just society. So thank you, and together I believe we can build that better version of the future. Thanks.
Now, owing to time, we'll take a couple of questions before we break for lunch. And if I could just ask people asking questions to state their name and affiliation before the start of their question. So I'll start over here.
Hi, Anna from Creative Commons. I'm curious what the NTIA's stance or current thinking is on open data sets, since you alluded to the weights in the report last summer. But what are you thinking in terms of open data sets, openly available, licensing, et cetera?
Well, I think we're going to need, that's part of the openness equation. Like I say, our report focuses a lot on model weights, but it's only a piece of the puzzle, as many of you know. We'd like to see, and we've been working with some of our colleagues at NIST to also think about this question about how you build data sets that researchers can use, that broader community can use. That's going to be important for building systems. It's also important for assessing those systems. So I think it's going to be a key thing that we need to be focused on.
Hi, thank you for the lightning talk. I'm Brian Chen with Data and Society. NTIA has a RFC out for data centers, about the growth of data centers in the US. And I'm wondering if you could say a bit about what NTIA and the administration are thinking about regarding those data centers, what you're looking to do, especially given what we know about the energy demands and the labor conditions regarding these data centers that are increasing with AI.
Well, I think we're trying in that, if you take a look at that art, so thank you for the question. We did put out a request for comment. By the way, I'd encourage everybody to look at it, and we would love your comments. It really helps us. This is a longer burn piece of work. I think we're trying to take a very broad look at the issues around data centers. It's coming up more and more, and I think we know that to sustain our competitiveness here in the US, and other countries are looking at this too, we need to be really addressing some of the broader issues around data centers. Energy consumption, we're doing this in partnership with the Department of Energy, is of course a huge piece of this, but there are also questions around security standards, cybersecurity. There are building issues, there are siting issues. There are 5,000 data centers in the United States. The projection is that that number needs to grow somewhere around 9 or 10% every year for the rest of the decade to keep up with demand. And that is a very high rate of growth for us. And so, data centers today take up 4% of the energy consumption in the United States, which I was sort of shocked to learn, to be honest. And we're talking about potentially a 50% increase by the end of the decade. So those are big numbers, actually. And I think our goal is to think about how the federal government can make sure that we're keeping up with that demand, because it's going to be so challenging, and dealing with broadly with all of this, all the issues, including energy.